Bethesda like to get value from a game's productions, and with the current surge of TV shows of big games, it was unlikely they would miss out on riding the coattails of the success of Fallout. With insufficient time to release yet another special edition, instead PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, S and even PC can now enjoy a next-gen update and DLC. The problem is, Xbox players, yet again, get the dirty end of the stick. Although a next-gen patch is relative only to the generation this game launched on, it already has competition with itself. Now Bethesda are used to this. With the excellent Xbox Backwards Compatible program, Fallout 4 was an early beneficiary thanks to the Xbox One X 4K patch, and then the FPS boost mode. We already had high frame rate or resolutions as a choice, just not both, on Xbox Series X and Series S. Something this update adds with Game Pass, PSN Plus, Disc or Steam players all granted free access to new missions and visual modes, but what are they and do we have some hidden ones? Now as you log in, a message states the next generation update is here. For Xbox players, all your last gen saves can be loaded immediately and seamlessly as long as they're present on your console. PlayStation 5 players must transfer them into the new format, and this update requires. Again, these need to be already on the console, but it is a simple process and looks to be an SDK option as it mirrors the same methods Sony first party games have used in the past, such as Ghost of Tsushima. The core of this update adds a performance toggle, which creates a quality off and performance on choice for console players. PC players remain with the same settings choice as before. Now taking this as our basis, we can see if, as per the patch notes, the game has increased effects over the old console versions, and this is where I would bring in the Series X as the before and after, but this update patch is unbelievably broken on both series consoles, meaning that the toggle does nothing in the current build. And I first tried the 22GB update that patched the game from the old XDK codebase build to the latest GDK build, as you see here, giving us a native XE for Gen 9 consoles. And then I deleted it and downloaded the full 35GB new version. Neither worked on both consoles, and the toggle is simply window dressing at present. This leaves the game locked into the performance mode on both Series X and Series S machines. Now ironically, the free patch for the PlayStation 5, it works perfectly, but it has a far larger footprint, 56GB, some 60% larger. An ironic and metaphoric statement, some may say. Now here the aims of the team can at least be demonstrated, and it gives Xbox players a view of what they can expect once this is repatched soon. Using the Series X in the Xbox One X mode, it runs the same 4K at 30 FPS level as that machine, but we do see some minor increases over the old BC mode. Specifically, level of detail is slightly higher with more grass and incidental objects into the middle and far distance. This results in less fading of new scenery as you walk through the world compared to the previous version and the performance mode. Long view distance shots highlight this best, and in side by sides the increase is obvious, and it is a big impact on the rendering load, bandwidth and fill rate of the hardware overall. The other noticed change is the extensive use of volumetrics in the game, which were part of the Nvidia collaboration back then and used tessellation, making them very demanding on PC. Now these are a higher resolution quality than the previous 4K BC mode, again highlighting the disparity of geometry resolution and shading alpha and other effects that actually make up the final image of any game. The updated version is more refined due to the higher precision, allowing those background details to come through, whereas the previous 4K BC mode has lower resolution fog volumes, and this results in a more clouded and milkier look. Now this can be noticed even more when you drop to the old FPS boost mode, which necessitated a 75% resolution reduction to a base 1920 by 1080p. Here, the volumetrics now look even milkier and blockier as the fog volumes often run at half or quarter resolution of the game's target output. Meaning in the old 4K mode they were likely 1080p grid base, and in the 1080p boost mode they're 540p. In quality mode these are likely full resolution that matches PC's highest. shadow map cascade looks identical, and if it's better, it's very, very slight. Textures are also identical across all, with Series S just being softer due to the lower resolution and likely uses slightly lower bitmaps due to the VRAM restrictions. Thankfully, the resolution boost works correctly on all consoles. Series X and PS5 render at a full 4K in both modes, which is a bit assumptive until we actually get a quality mode that works on Xbox Mind, but performance appears to be dynamic. I counted a 1980p low on both PS5 and Xbox Series X in my stress tests, but they are most often 4K, with the reductions made to the detail level in the world helping reduce the performance gap required to maintain 60 FPS at that same 4K output. The Xbox Series S is most often 65% lower, but at least higher than its previous FPS boost mode, now running a dynamic 2560 by 1440 down to 1920 by 1080, with many counts being an approximate 2240 by 1260. A minor increase over the old FPS mode, but the increased volumetrics and alpha resolution does help improve the image stability in the game, and aside this, all three have identical performance mode settings. Performance is at least very solid, with all formats holding a locked 60 FPS 99% of the time. You can still get some streaming, context and CPU workload stutter on occasion, such as here on the Series S as it randomly spikes for over 200 milliseconds, which is certainly not a GPU related hitch and is likely code based most likely. This happens mostly when the game triggers new moments, loading in new areas, objects or context switches, and we've seen this as a constant Achilles heel of the creation engine, even on PC. So this is not something an update like this will fix. These impact Xbox consoles more than PlayStation 5, but they are fleeting though. So the 4K performance mode on the Series X and PS5 is the one to choose, as is the 1440p mode on the Series S, which is a good job because that's all you've got on the Xbox consoles currently. The resolution hit is minimal due to the game lacking modern physically based materials, high frequency details, leaving a similar but softer image overall on the S. Now, getting into the factory stress test that ramps up geometry load and fill rate, we take a run from the top, cutting our way through to victory, and here we can see some minor drops in performance on Series S and Series X. But these are often only into the mid-50s at worst, and VRR players will barely notice. The PS5 remains a locked 60 FPS here though, and across all tested sections of action, I did not catch any dips on Sony's console. You can though still get dips on the PS5, with long views spinning at the top, seeing a 54 FPS low on Series X versus 56 on PS5, so well within margin of error advantage here at best. But it certainly reinforces that PlayStation 5 players are currently benefiting the most from this update. Wrapping up the performance, the PS5 in quality mode is, as expected, a fully locked 30 FPS always, with plenty of headroom left over. A pleasant surprise is the team have taken advantage of the higher modes these consoles offer, which they noted in their patch notes. By simply making a call to the console's operating system, the engine can detect what resolution, frame rate and more it can actually run at. Now, this is a core area that Xbox FPS Boost mode is built upon. The version of the creation engine here remains limited to 60 FPS, even on PC without mods, but if you have a 120Hz output available, you have two further options. Setting the resolution to 1440p 120Hz, then the game runs at native 1440p, but now at that quality mode, complete with the increases in LOD, now targets a stable, and again locked, 60 FPS. Which is a welcome benefit to those with a 1440p monitor. But if left at 4K and the same 120Hz setting, then the quality mode now targets a common Sony 40 FPS rate, or 25 milliseconds per frame, which is the perfect middle ground of image quality and performance, feeling far smoother than 30 but with the same 4K image quality. Again, this is perfectly paced and delivered, and I commend and welcome this from the Bethesda team and hope more teams lean into this. It may be a sign to come of a possible Starfield update offering a similar 40 FPS boost mode in its quality mode, which would be a nice enhancement to that Creation Engine 2 title and its current 30 FPS cap on console. This update is most welcome for such an old game and shows how these crossovers can reinvigorate older games. The current player base of Fallout 4 has shot up into the millions, and by releasing this update, which also adds some new missions alongside these modes, is just good business sense. However, it feels like another one step forward, two steps back for Bethesda and Xbox, having a core first-party title missing over 50% of the benefits this patch brings is already a huge faux pas, and actually reduces the image quality to the previous BC mode, with you no longer having the option to run these high LOD levels that are now available on PS5 and no longer available on Series X and even Series S. And here's the rub. Your competition in the PS5 gets all of this, the boosts and no issues noted, free for PS Plus players and physical owners alike. It sends a bad message to all that either the PS5 is far easier to develop for and thus less effort returns the same or better results, or worst of all, the effort required on their own platform are not sufficient for the return. It still has some bugs, with lights not being active at times, locked into a hacking screen, forced me to reload an earlier save, missing textures that were present before, and the PC player base has crashes on the largest GPU market. Years of mods destroyed overnight by this patch, which included a forthcoming and highly anticipated Fallout London mod that was due this month, has now slipped to an unspecified time as the team tried to figure out what these new problems have actually caused. As an update to the title, it offers a decent amount to offer choice and improved quality. The problem is, this is only true for PlayStation 5 players, and it's not the best advert for a continued first-party delivery schedule and Game Pass subscriptions. The fallout from this one may be as long as the game's legacy itself. And remember, if you like what we do here on IGN Performance Reviews, then keep it IGN, and we'll catch you on the next one.